Well, hello, everyone. Welcome. It is November 20th, and this is Action for Canada's weekly news update. I'm Tanya Gaw. I am so excited because I'm going to have some really good news updates tonight, some really good wins, and a lot of them I'm excited as well because Action for Canada has been key in some of these wins. And that's what our teams are working so hard on across the nation. So I'll start with the map. Again, if you're just getting to know Action for Canada, I show the map every week as I begin the show because I think this is just so exciting to see our chapters nationwide. And within those chapters, we have amazing chapter leaders who are working on behalf of Canadians. We have so many members as well who are just volunteering their time, going to school board meetings, and as well showing up at city council meetings, handing out flyers, lobbying government. And it's just a small Gideon's army in compared to the millions and millions of Canadians that occupy Canada. Shall I say occupy? Is that a right thing? That are residents, citizens that live in Canada. And, my encouragement is that we could accomplish so much more if more Canadians would get involved. So right here, you could become an Action for Canada chapter leader. You can learn more about it just by submitting an email and going onto our webpage and filling out the form. Doesn't mean you're committed. It just means that somebody will be in touch with you. We will talk to you about, some of the activities that we're doing, see if that's a good match for you, and then get you vetted and set up. And the more we get people involved, the better this is going to be. So it's exciting. It's really an exciting time to be a Canadian. Stressful at times, yes. It's a lot of hard work. But the beauty about being with Action for Canada is you're not alone. We have an absolutely amazing team participating in the actions nationwide and a great support group. Now, I want to mention on Rumble, week after week, I'm asking, please subscribe to Rumble. Please sign up for Rumble to begin with. I'm noticing that we've been at 6,500 people following us on Rumble for some time now. And so I really encourage you. I know that you need to fill out an account with Rumble to be a member with them and join Action for Canada, but we don't have access to YouTube, all right, because we don't meet their community standards. On Facebook this week, I received an email and it said that, that there had been some sort of strike against me, and it said for sexual content. Can you believe that? It was a page that had been shared. And of course, the page led to our political LGBTQ page. I mean, we've been sharing this page forever, and it had to do with sexual content and nudity. And that must have been the PDF we have of the books in the schools. And so, I get a strike on Facebook. So how am I going to get the information out to Canadians if Action for Canada is so censored in trying to save the hearts and minds of our kids and protect them, and in order to protect our borders and to do so much work that we're doing? We need your help. This is going to be where Canadians who are coming across this video, even if it's for the first time, give us that thumbs up and share our information, please. Now, you'll notice that on the video that we did last week, we did the special documentary Silenced, and from Stephen Yaxley Lennon, aka Tommy Robinson, is the way that should go. We got 40 thumbs down. There's just people that can't hit us on YouTube. We don't care about Facebook. And so they're coming after us on Rumble. It's like literally they have nothing better to do than try to destroy our algorithms and take Action for Canada down. That means we're doing good work. We're one of the most censored organizations in the country because the government, because of this map, they have every reason to be very concerned because we are organized, we're strategizing, we have campaigns and resources that we've implemented, and they are effective. And I'll be talking about those tonight. So that's exciting. I'm just going to go back one click to our Rumble page. You'll notice down here, I was quite excited to see it. I got 34,000 views on my weekly news update a month ago. And okay, so 73 thumbs up, and they still gave us 42 thumbs down. But can you see the reason I'm needing your support? Just that little effort to give us a thumbs up We spend hours getting these news reports together, never mind the resources and the work that we're doing, because we are literally the only one reporting the news that gives solutions. And so that's why it makes us a serious threat. Okay, on to some good news. Everyone is pointing out one fact about the state of Oklahoma. Do you know what? After their new Bible in classroom mandates. I am so excited to hear about this. The states is just nailing it. They are going back to the Word of God and definitely back to the Bible. I ask people who say, "Oh, there should be no religion in the classroom." It's like they've had a religion in the classroom. It's called the trans ideology, and they've had secularism. That's a religion. This is not a religion. Christianity isn't a religion, it's a faith. And biblical standards worked in the classroom. It was about purity, it was about protecting our kids, and it was about teaching them amazing values. And so I would rather have the Bible in the classroom than Soji 123. So give me a thumbs up if you agree on that. And so it said, this is Senator, State Superintendent Ryan Walters. He released this video. You can search his name and you can come up with that. But it said, "I'm excited to announce today that Oklahoma is the first state to bring the Bible back to the classroom. Today, we purchased over 500 Bibles that will be in the AP government classrooms across the state. We have the Bible, the Constitution, I love the additionals, the Declaration of Independence, and the Bill of Rights. These are foundational documents in our nation's history. Our kids have to understand the role the Bible played in influencing American history." Now, think about if we care about this and we get a government in Canada who's going to do the same thing. These immigrants coming to Canada and sitting in our classrooms now, they would be learning about biblical principles. We would not have the hundreds, if not thousands, of Islamic schools that have been opened nationwide, teaching about the Quran, teaching about beheading, teaching about blowing themselves up and being martyrs. That's unbelievable. So I'm just going to keep compelling, to your senses every day and your sense of morality every week I can and every day that I can to think about the biblical values and how Canada used to function on those values, and we need to return to them if we really want to turn Canada around. We have a right to protect our sovereignty and our upcoming the future of the upcoming generations, the kids that we're putting through the school system right now, need to embrace our history. We need to raise up Sir A. MacDonald again. And, those are fathers of Confederation who gifted us with the freedoms and democracy foundationally when they came into this country and set up all of our laws and our values. Okay, so I said we've been hard at work. Our own Pastor Dan Vachon lives in Nova Scotia, and he said we got some real concerns here. He's also the chapter leader and the Atlantic chapter leader that oversees the chapters. And I didn't realize in Nova Scotia that they had already passed legislation back in May. The College of Physicians had actually, I don't want to call it legislation, maybe it's referred to as a new directive that requires physicians to provide an effective referral for patients requesting MAID, abortion, or medical transitioning. Many doctors are uncomfortable referring to patients for these procedures as they believe they are unethical and therefore goes against their conscience. So if doctors refuse to refer, they are subject to professional disciplinary action, which could include losing their license. I mean, is this radically woke or not? We're already in BC with the NDP government. They only lifted the mandates because, they wanted to win an election, which they stole. I'll continue to say that. I believe David Eby. I believe that very nefarious things happened within the election in British Columbia. And so when these woke governments get in, this is what we're facing. And we've lost doctors in BC because they lose their license if they weren't going to give people the deadly mRNA vaccine, or if they said, this is harmful, I'm not going to do it. And so Nova Scotia's in a tough place as well because they had 80,000 people without a doctor 4 years ago, and now that figure's around 160,000 today. So we've sent out a call to action. We provide all the information. We thank ARPA Canada as well because they had a system. We've referred to that system. We like to partner with other organizations that are doing good work, and I think ARPA is doing phenomenal work. So just You can go under our call to action here. You'll see urgent actions, and you can find this if you're in Nova Scotia, or if you have family or friends that are living in Nova Scotia, please send that action to them. There needs to be major backlash, and we need to get more people out to vote and helping with this. All right. A couple of weeks ago in BC, in response to the corruption in the BC election, we also sent out a call to action demanding a re-election, and there needs to be an investigation in this. There was, a report revealed that data entry omissions resulted in, they called them mistakes, impacting a small number of votes in 69 of 93 ridings. I mean, this is just complete corruption to minimize this and pretend there's nothing to see here. So we had a call to action campaign, and I thank everybody. You have no idea, or I hope you have an idea of how important it is that when we send out these calls to actions that you respond. All you need to do is copy this email that we created. You put it in your email, you copy the 3 email addresses that we've recommended, and you send it to them so they can hear and see from the public, we are not at all satisfied with the outcome of this election. And as I mentioned previously, there are reports that during the election, on election day, that BC election staff were calling people for phone-in voting. You don't do that. That's not up to BC elections. So we need an audit. We need to know who initiated that. We need to know the results of the audit, but we also need to do a freedom of information and go way deeper on this. There is not going to just be the letter that they provided, and this is going to be the end of it. So this is the response. Thank you to everybody who had forwarded us a copy. And basically, Bogman is coming about, oh, nothing to see here. Everybody's happy. There, was no candidates appealed the results of the judicial recounts. It is just an absolute mess and a travesty. And they go on to say the electronic tabulators were used to count paper ballots in accordance with the Election Act. So anyways, we didn't do anything wrong because it's in the Election Act that we could use these tabulators, and that mail-in voting is okay, and that vouching for people is okay. And then they go on to say, voting opportunities such as voting by mail and assisted telephone voting, as well as the provision to vouch, which I had just mentioned, all is according to the Act. Nothing to see here. There are many safeguards in place to protect the integrity of BC provincial elections. These include processes that ensure only eligible voters vote, and that they only vote once. Okay, so I'm going to interject here. I'm talking personally with people who were at the voting locations and in charge, and there were situations where a ballot was fed into the machine, it popped back out and saying, this person has already voted. So they said, oh, no, I haven't voted. Okay, well, you know what? Just take this oath saying you haven't voted and you can vote again. This is what happened. People came in with their prescription bottles as ID, as personal ID. And when it was being able to vouch for individuals, it was family members. And there are several accounts, and I'm sure if we get information in, and if you have any information from British Columbia where you witnessed or experienced voter fraud, I'm asking you to send us an email at call2@actionforcanada.com and make it attention to myself going BC elections or BC voter fraud, and send me whatever information you have. If you have a video, if you have evidence, if you have a testimony, please let me know what had happened. So as far as the vouching was concerned, people were there vouching for their neighbors. So no, there is nothing that they put in place that safeguarded against this. And so we will be publishing a report, they say, on the election next year. The report will include a review of what went well and what could be improved in future elections. The report will also include recommendations for legislative change. Not good enough. None of this is good enough. And so we're going to be making some demands, and that all future elections, there should be a voter ID. Other countries have that, where you show up, you have your picture, you have your address, your voter ID is up to date, and it shows your citizenship. If you don't have that, you don't vote, period. And the voting should be done on one day, whether it's a national holiday. Everybody can come and vote. There would be no excuses. Business can close down, and perfect voter ID, no vouching, no phone-in voting, and no mail-in voting. This is where it opens it all up to fraud. And so if you're interested in being on the BC elections team and you have some time to spare, please come and help me out. If we don't push back, this will continue. I just wanted to let you know, we just came out of the Empower Hour and we had Tanner Naday on. It was absolutely amazing. It was finances, a biblical perspective. I think it'll be unlike anything you've probably ever heard before. He's an amazing guest. I'm going to be sure to have him back on the show again. So in the description, we will include that Empower Hour, and I encourage you to listen to that and share it with others. Now, the reason I was bringing that up at this time is because the Scotiabank in Nova Scotia had sent this letter out to the members of their branch, and they were telling their clients that they will no longer be dealing in cash. See right here, it says we will no longer be offering over-the-counter cash services. For example, bill payments, cash withdrawal and deposit services, and foreign exchange transactions. So you know what? You can go to the bank machine if you like, but we're not going to touch that cash for you. We're going to go all digital. But you know what? The branch still down the street is still offering cash, so you can go and do your service with them. You know what, everyone? Take your money out of the Scotiabank on 47 Aberdeen Street and send them a clear message. If you're with Scotiabank, take your money out. Just take your money out and move to another bank if you can. We got to send them a message that, you know what, we're not going to go along with this, and we need to hurt them now before they get too advanced with the CBDCs. Okay, as well, I just want to bring your attention to, you can find this on our homepage. This is I'm pretty much reporting on it every week because of the rising concerns over cash. And as I said last week, our dollar right now is worth $1.76, that we're indebted. 76 cents on the dollar. That's pretty scary. And, we need to be able to think about the future. Canada does not have its cash backed by gold like Russia is doing en masse and other smart countries. Canada, Trudeau, as we know, he's not smart. He's not a smart person. I won't call him any other names. I'll just say he's not smart at all. He's radical. He's a tyrant, but he's not smart as far as making sure that he's actually covering the needs of Canadians, because he has no intention to do that. That's part of the plan. So at the top of this page, Steve Merrill's been on a couple of times, and you can listen to some videos there to help educate you on transferring some of your funds into silver, which is underfunded right now. Gold is very expensive. And so silver is set to come up. It's dropped a little bit, which is a good time to buy, but it's going to go up and up and up. It's said to be a good investment. I'll leave that to you to decide after you watch the videos. But if you do decide to buy precious metals, please keep Steve in mind, because he is offering a bonus 1 ounce pure silver bullet with a $5,000 order, and will also offer a silver bullet for anyone who makes a referral that results in a $5,000 order. And he is so graciously giving a small percentage contribution of his sales to Action for Canada as well, which is really helping us out. So we appreciate you doing business through Steve if you decide to go that way. Okay, some of the craziness, I'm going to take you good news, bad news, good news, bad news throughout the weekly news report. So stick with me. 2 leaders resigned from La Lèche League over shift to include men in breastfeeding group. So this has been an international group on breastfeeding. It's helped so many new moms who have had babies and unsure how to get them to latch on and feed them properly. There are some doctors, just give up on it and bottle feed, which is not ideal for a baby. It's best for them to breastfeed. And so this group has always been so amazing in helping to encourage moms in how to do that. And so the crazy liberals and the rest of them have infiltrated, and their board has now said 2 leaders of a major including one of the organizations, have resigned. The International Board League recently directed all British affiliates to begin accommodating men who believe they are women. Okay, this is so sick. The only ones that can breastfeed are these young girls who are now identifying as males who haven't had their breast medically removed and their bodies mutilated. They're the only ones that could be appearance-wide because of the hormone blockers with a beard. Amazing that they could get pregnant, but they're the only ones that can reasonably, scientifically breastfeed. So am I correct that this is in the UK or in Canada as well? If I'm not mistaken, I can't see the chat right now. Either way, you can see the sick direction that this is going. So yeah, it says also this week, Scottish breastfeeding advocate Mira Mame announced that she was leaving. All right, so it is in varying countries that they're being hit with this, and they need to hit back. But this is what happens when people infiltrate your board. So you know what? When you got an organization, even with Action for Canada, we've got three directors, 3 board members, because that's how easy it happens. And Action for Canada is too good an organization serving Canadians that we're not going to put things at risk. Okay, new legislation would make crisis pregnancy centers disclose whether they provide abortion support. I've mentioned this previously. The Liberal government, and man, I was listening to something, a video statement from Jagmeet Singh today. He is all in about these women's rights and abortions, and that this is a must, and that anybody that doesn't support abortion needs to be penalized. And that's exactly what they want to do. The federal government has introduced this legislation that would require charities, so pro-life organizations that are helping moms, moms that are a bit in distress but want to keep their babies, especially providing reproductive health services to state clearly whether they offer abortion or abortion referrals. This is the same thing that they did with euthanasia, is that they insisted that respite care facilities had to include offering people to be euthanized. And it's so diabolical. It's like, you know what? Stay in your lane. These organizations were created to offer a service to a certain individuals in society. So butt out. But the government won't, because you know what? They're this death cult that are coming after everything. And I want to remind them that they tried to do this with a job attestation, going after churches and Christian charitable organizations, insisting that they had to, in order to get government funding for to pay student, not volunteers, but to pay students to come and work at the camps, that they had to agree to abortion. And so this was brought to court. There was one church in Ontario who brought this matter to court. I think it was Redeemer University, a Christian university in Hamilton, Ontario. And they brought the government to court over this, and they won. And so they set a Supreme Court ruling. And so the government continually tries to impose themselves and violate people's chartered, guaranteed constitutional rights. It has to be wasted money going to court. And the government, you know what? The Redeemer University won, and the government had to pay their bill. But guess where that money comes from? The taxpayer. So we need to get this government out. On that, Citizen Go has a petition, and it is protect crisis pregnancy centers, charitable status, support women's right to choose life, so that they can provide the service to the charitable organizations to do just that. Because crisis pregnancy centers are the only not-for-profit organizations that truly empower women to choose life for their preborn children and offer women long-lasting support before, during, and after their crisis pregnancy, regardless of the outcome. And we need to maintain that, and we have a right to maintain that. Okay, so we'll include that petition in the description. We'll hope you'll take 2 minutes to sign it. Mass resistance helps elect parent and bring conservative majority to school board in deep blue liberal Southern California. Mass Resistance is like Action for Canada in the United States, doing incredible work. And so in California, of all places, to get a majority on the school board, you can believe they're going to get some business done now. But that was already after their latest victory, removing the Toxic Wellbeing Center, which of course Planned Parenthood had their hands in, and coaching children in getting puberty blockers and abortions and things of the like. Okay, this one. Thank you to Sheila for sending me this information. I'm loving this. All right, because the natives, I'm going to say, we're going to have Michelle Sterling on next week. It's going to be amazing because we're going to provide you another presentation on the United Nations and the government using the natives as pawn to push this agenda to victimize them in order to continue this wealth transfer. And it's quite something, the way they have just come out with a documentary, and it's based on just this pile of lies. We'll get into that more next week, so I hope you'll come and join us. But the point of what I'm saying is the natives could not accomplish all of this as well, these chiefs, if it wasn't for the tens of billions, hundreds of billions of dollars that are coming from Canadian taxpayers. It's got to stop. The money train has to stop. Well, where else we're financing the demise of our children, we're being forced to. We're not doing this because we want to, is the radical LGBTQ organizations that have been infiltrated by these radical sex activists. And so funding public interest advocacy in Canada, this is coming to an end, and they know it. They are actually concerned, very concerned about the fact that once a new government comes in next year, we're not sure where Pierre Poilievre is going to do, but he's going to have to really take a good look at the budget and slash a lot of, the funding that's going out. And there's many of these LGBTQ organizations that get the federal funding, and it's up to 90% of their funding. They're going to be done. There is no way that they're going to be able to be backed in these legal actions, trying to keep these radical ideologies in the schools that are poisoning the minds of our children. And I was saying earlier on the Empower Hour when Tanner was on that Action for Canada doesn't have charitable status because the government would try to take us down. We don't want them having access to our email list. There's so many different reasons. And so I want you to consider that they've been getting millions of dollars, these groups, from the government, and we're existing on your generous donations, $20, $100. We had recently last week a $500, $600, $700 check come in, and I was like, yes. And this week was a $20, $25 check and a $50 check, and we're like, yes, and we're thank you so much. But if you're going to see what it is that we're accomplishing, we're going into December. People are thinking about where to place some extra, their year-end donations. And we're going to ask you to keep Action for Canada in mind. Because our team, we need financing in order to accomplish so much more. And we can't do it without your help. And these individuals never thought about that. But the problem is that they are so unpopular in what they are doing, is that the average Canadian, the majority of Canadians won't fund them. And so they only have a very small percentage of their funding coming from outside of it. And so they get $7.3 million budget from the government. We get nothing like that. A smidgy fraction of that. And look what we're accomplishing. And we're going to continue to do that good work. Here it is, Canadian Centre for Gender and Sexuality, Sexual Diversity. They've gone bankrupt. Okay, this center has gone bankrupt already because they can't get the funding, and we're going to make sure that more and more people hear about how awful they are because of what they're doing to our children. They're not helping anybody but themselves. And these radical individuals who are getting paid top dollar at the head of these organizations are in for a rude awakening. So let's make sure that's one of the election issues, is that they defund these radical NGOs. And here it is. I wanted to give you an example of the massive win that we had last year in making sure that SOGI 123 was banned and Planned Parenthood were banned in Saskatchewan. They, under the radar, were trying to get SOGI 123 into Saskatchewan. Action for Canada stepped in. We did amazing work. And in addition to all of this, Scott Moe ended up moving forward with really strong parental rights and taking every step to do that. And he's in a battle. EGAL, federal funded EGAL, who's getting millions of dollars from the federal government and possibly from overseas, is now trying to help You Are Pride in Saskatchewan to win this battle, because they don't like to lose, but they're going to lose, and they're going down. The whole LGBTQ, the radical NGOs and the sex activists are going down. They're going to stop sexually abusing our children, stop tearing apart families, and Action for Canada is on the front line of that fight. And if that matters to you, please donate to us. Even $10 a month, being committed to that helps us to determine what actions we're going to be taking in the new year. Again, you can go to our political LGBTQ page, and if you scroll down to the very bottom, this is all great information, but these are all the guests that we've had on regarding this issue alone, actions that we're taking and wanting to get Senator Christopher Wells rescinded. He should not be appointed. He's a radical sex activist. He's been involved in some things that would caution us on his ability to be independent as a senator. We've got our Windsor chapter leaders and others that are doing great testimonies here of the good work that they're doing. We've got advisors on here, special guests that have provided phenomenal information, and so on and so forth. So you can see really the good work that we're doing and continue to do. All right, the disaster waiting to happen. This is a news release I just want to bring to your attention. We've been talking about, the new bird flu. I was mentioning that last week, and the FDA has approved phase 1 of trial of, it's called self-amplifying bird flu vaccine. And self-amplifying, where did I have this? Is mRNA injections contain an enzyme that instructs the body on how to make more mRNA. Do we want more mRNA in our body? Haven't we been learning? Aren't they listening to what's happening to Pfizer and these other pharmaceutical companies who nefariously put this in people's bodies? And all of this has created devastation and havoc and cancer and heart attacks, etc. And down here in clinical trials that have already been commenced in Japan, 5 deaths occurred among the injected in study phase 3B. Injected participants experienced a 90% adverse event rate. 74.5% systemic, 15.2% required medical attention. It's very concerning. And even with those kind of results, they still want to move forward because they're murderers. All right. This is nothing about taking care of society or citizens. And I don't want to just be talking to the informed. I'm asking you to pass on this weekly news update so that we can inform others. And I'll be giving some solutions to this as well. So I wanted to bring up now how Donald Trump, of course, you may have known, picks Robert Kennedy Jr. to run U.S. Health Department. This is massive and exciting. Trump said that as head of HHS, with oversight of agencies such as the Food and Drug Administration and Centers for Disease Control and Protection, Kennedy would restore these agencies to the traditions of gold standard, scientific research, and beacons of transparency to end the chronic disease epidemic and to make America great and healthy again. And so he's going to go after the spraying. He's going to go after the chemicals that are in our soil, that our food is produced in, and so many different things. He's going to go after Big Pharma, after Fauci, and they're going to shut all of this down. Of course, the left is just panicking. They're going to be trying to pass whatever they can between now and January 21st when Trump is inaugurated. So we got to pray for these people that they get in, because this will overturn the vaccine industry and the pharmaceutical industry, because they're going to revoke the legislation that was passed that protects the makers of vaccines, and they're now going to be held accountable. You tell me how many of those people are going to still, want to produce these deadly vaccines. The childhood vaccines will probably become non-existent because they know that these are causing autism because of the metals in this adjuvants that are in the children's vaccines are causing autism and other terrible childhood diseases. And back to the mRNA vaccine, I just wanted, Dr. Mackey's had posted this, 4 kids lost their father to a heart attack and their cancer-stricken mom died months later. Okay, this is what we can count on from Big Pharma. And this is why it's very important to get people like Robert Kennedy into place. Rocco was on a committee with him for 2.5 years, so he knows him very well. And I was talking to Rocco today, and he said how amazing it is that Robert Kennedy got promoted to this position. You couldn't ask for a better person to be heading this over America. So the solution is that you go to our COVID-19 page, go to notices of liability. If anybody in Canada starts talking about the jab again, you go down to our notice of liability and our resources, just research it. Anybody wants to force masks on, all of that, COVID testing is all on this page. So please arm yourselves. The best way, reason I keep bringing this up every week right now is why wait till the last minute to get educated on how you need to respond to this. If your employer says that you need to get vaccinated, you need to know your constitutional and charter rights now, so that they're ingrained, that they're just so fluent when they come out of you, that they'll be so concerned about your knowledge that they'll back off. We had great success during the first round in making sure that many people didn't get jabbed. All right, so now we're taking a shift here. Councillor Kara says opponents of upzoning bylaw are racist. I mean, when they can't win one way, they're going to call it every way they can. They're going to call you racist. And this has to do with the 50-minute rezoning that took place in Calgary some months ago. 736 Calgarians spoke at the public hearing, with 65% being opposed to the bylaw, but the city ended up passing it anyways. They don't care about those who they serve. They serve us. They serve you. They serve me. And we got to keep reminding them of this. And thankfully, there is an individual that is taking them to court. But the reason I'm bringing this up is because, one, I want to show you what we're doing nationwide. And again, didn't realize I was going to do this. I'm going to be promoting more and more tonight about the value of investing in Action for Canada and the work that our volunteers nationwide are doing. We have more that we could be doing if we had more funding. And I need you to see the value in what it is we're doing. So the news report was coming through. Our team in Oshawa, which is in Durham, started doing the research, and there's Envision Durham 50-minute city plan. And our team got busy and they did delegations. This is Terry Recker, our Oshawa chapter leader, and some other members up here that did a stellar job at the delegation. Absolutely amazing. Bringing the policies to the attention of the city councillors, holding them out and on account for it, and demanding some information in return. It's amazing. Not really amazing how many of the city councillors aren't even reading the policies. Just show me where to sign on the dotted line. The federal government is going to provide us all this funding, and that's all I care about is these dollar figures. Never mind the fact that they are aligning illegally, and really it's treason, with foreign bad actors that are unelected officials that are interfering with our democracy. Now, I've talked to you many times about what's going on in Winnipeg with the WMR, the Winnipeg Metropolitan Region, who a body had been formed to oversee 18, we call them municipalities, they call them by another name, in Winnipeg. But this board was put in place to oversee the 18 municipalities. And now what they were trying to do was basically take a step that the mayor and city council within each of these municipalities that the people voted for would no longer really represent them, because this new WMR board could trump any decision that they made and make the dictates. So they needed 2 public hearings. They had public hearing number 1, and Pierre Atala, our Winnipeg chapter leader, and he's also the provincial leader in Winnipeg, got busy, and he showed up with a couple of hundred people. They opposed it. The board didn't care and they passed it. We've done, you know what, our due diligence. We had our first public hearing. Then in public hearing number 2, it ends up that Pierre had special meetings with our members in between. We were pushing out actions saying, you got to come to this board meeting. About 1,000 people showed up at the board meeting. It had to be canceled because this meeting, this public, not board meeting, public hearing, had to accommodate everybody who attended. And of course, I think I forget, it was like a couple of hundred people the room held, and all these people were standing outside. So they had to come up with a place where it would hold, 1,000 people and hopefully a couple of thousand people by the time the hearing came. And it was supposed to take place in October because all of this was happening in August. So I asked Pierre, I kept asking, like, what's happening? Well, it ends up they quashed it because of the public backlash. So thank you to everybody that responded. A huge shout out to Pierre for all of his work. I mean, this is Pierre at the Winnipeg public meeting. And I'm just so proud of the team. And so much work goes into this. This is sacrificial. We're fighting for our country. Now we're still moving because they see that they overstepped. It was way too obvious that they're bringing this tyranny onto all of these local municipalities, and they tried to do it in one fell swoop, and they failed because of the public backlash. And that's all what we're about. Call to action, action for Canada. And so now they're going to try to incrementally do it. They're doing a little quieter and under the radar. We need to get these people removed. We need to show up. There's an election in a year and a half in Winnipeg, and we need to be ready for it. We need to be working on that now. So please join Action for Canada and the work we're doing. You can go under current issues. I believe I have it on this page. If you go down to 15-minute cities, this is what you'll end up on. You can see our notice of liability, but you could even be printing off our flyer and making sure that you're handing this out to everybody that you meet. And you could help by getting a team together and going door to door and handing this flyer out. We've made it so easy. As I said, we're giving you the resources. We've got the platform. We've got the strategy. And we need more people to say yes to Action for Canada. We're the only organization doing this kind of work on multiple levels in this country. So we need your financial support. We need your boots on the ground support. We need more of you stepping up and being leaders within your provinces. So please reach out to us. Here again, I reminded myself, because I've always been terrible about asking for donations, but I'm going to ask you to go to our donate page and sign up to be a monthly donor or make a one-time gift. Okay, here again is pushback is happening. I believe a lot of this as well is because of Action for Canada. Our moratorium on immigration, I'll get to that, has nearly 5,000 signatures. Every time it was signed, it was sent to the Minister of Education, it was sent to Justin Trudeau, it was sent to the Attorney General and one other individual. But right now what I'm going to report on is Randy Boissnault. This is very exciting news today. And when they say who he is, it was because all of this has been going on. The big news, I'm going to get to the big news. He resigned today. This is massive. He has lied. He's committed fraud. I'm not even going to say allegedly, because there is so much evidence that has mounted against him on one of these issues. He should have been fired. And Trudeau, as of yesterday, was still saying, oh, no, I back Randy, he's a good friend. And some people would say, which Randy? That had to do with texts from a group in California that there was his business. He had founded his business in 2019 or 2020 with another individual. When he became an MP in 2021, he had to put his business aside into a holding and then carry on. But the business was now related. It was only to receive grants if you were Indigenous. And somehow he claimed he's Indigenous and he's not Indigenous. So then that's one part of it. And then there was text from this company down in California, and it was referring to Randy. So now the question is, who's Randy with his organization? And he's saying, I don't know Randy. I never met Randy. And so, of course, how can you be doing business if you're not supposed to be doing business? And so it's just a mess. So it says here, fraught with fraud allegations, Boissnault resigns from cabinet. And so that happened today. That's a big phew. I like Linda Slobodian. She writes for the Western Standard, and she doesn't mince words. She just comes out and she goes, "Time for Fire Chief Two Spirits White Powder, Randy, like to resign." And the reason they're calling him white powder is because his company also owned a mailbox with a woman who has been arrested for cocaine charges. See, cocaine smuggler. It just got richer and richer. So there was no way good for Randy Boissonnault to go. It had to go down. And so I'm really excited to say that he resigned today. So that would mean there will be an election in that riding. And so I hope everybody's getting real ready. You know what? Yeah, I'm sure it's going to go Conservative. I'd love to see Maxime Bernier get a candidate in there, just one, just to give politics, a little bit of a shift. We know that the Conservatives are going to win whenever the election takes place, but it'd just be nice to give everybody a little shift in the country. Okay, this is what a real leader looks like. I'm going to cover just a couple of links on here. And okay, I'm just going to try to go through this one as quickly as I can. He's absolutely amazing.
This organization stopped upholding the principles outlined in its founding declaration and began to mutate. An organization that had been conceived essentially as a shield to protect the realm of men transformed into a multi-tentacled leviathan that seeks to decide not only what each nation-state should do, but also how all the citizens of the world should live. This is how we went from an organization that pursued peace to an organization that imposes an ideological agenda on its members regarding a myriad of issues that pertain to human life in society. The model of the United Nations that had been successful, whose origins we can trace back to the ideas of President Wilson, who spoke of a society of peace without victory and was based on the cooperation of nation-states, has which mission policies.
I'm just going to skip ahead a little here.
Who they no longer have credible solutions to offer for the real problems of the world. In fact, they never did. If the 2030 agenda has failed, as its own promoters acknowledge, the response should be to ask ourselves if it was not a poorly conceived program from the start, accept that reality, and change course. One cannot insist on persisting in error, doubling down on an agenda that has always failed. The same happens with ideas that come from the left. They design a model according to what they believe humans should do, and when individuals freely act otherwise, they have no better solution than to restrict, repress, and curtail their freedom. We in Argentina have already seen with our own eyes what lies at the end of this path of envy and passions. Poverty, ignorance, anarchy, and a fatal absence of freedom. We still have time to steer away from that course. I want to be clear about something to avoid any misunderstandings. Argentina is currently undergoing a profound process of change. It has decided to embrace the ideas of freedom, those ideas that state that all citizens are born free and equal before the law, that we have inalienable rights granted by the Creator, among which are the rights to life, liberty, and property. Those principles that govern the process of change we are undertaking in Argentina are also the principles that will guide our international conduct from now on. We believe in the defense of the life of all. We believe in the defense of the property of all. We believe in freedom of expression for all. We believe in freedom of worship for all. We believe in freedom of trade for all. And we believe in limited governments for all. And as what happens in one country quickly impacts others, we believe that all peoples must live free from tyranny and oppression, whether it takes in dissenting this pact, but also in creating a new agenda for this noble institution, the agenda of freedom. From this day forward, know that the Republic of Argentina will abandon the historical position of neutrality that has characterized us and will be at the forefront of the fight in defense of freedom. For as Thomas Paine said, those who wish to reap the blessings of freedom must, as men, endure the fatigue of defending it. May God bless the Argentinians and all the citizens of the world, and may the forces of heaven be with us. Long live freedom, damn it. Thank you very much.
I just love it. I love him as president. I didn't know that he was an individual of faith, but he professes that. He does speak of the Creator, but this is what happens when you get government elected that is going to support the people and freedom. And this is where I encourage Canadians, we can do the same thing. I mean, some of these countries were ones that were clearly held under tyranny as well, but it's not going to happen by you sitting at home. We got to get on the front line. Now, as a matter of time, I was going to play some of this video that had come up. Maybe some of you have seen it. It's just, I hate even subjecting you to Trudeau's voice and what he has to say. They know they're in big trouble with immigration, and you can tell he's an actor. I think this is the only area where I would say that maybe, you know, he has some skill when you watch the video. But of course, for those of us who know him and know how corrupt he is, and that he's the one fully responsible for what has taken place as far as mass immigration, and that it was completely constructed to destabilize Canada. I mean, it is just so clearly evident. And so he goes on in this video, maybe I'll just cover some in this article, talks about the reduction in permanent residents, but he goes on to blame the COVID-19 instead of, I'm just going to go back to my notes. Instead of taking responsibility himself, he blames the pandemic for mass immigration. The media arm throughout the video is parenting in news reports what he has to say, you know, about how there is mass immigration is based on demand. And it was interesting when he made this statement, because at the same time, he's prioritizing abortion. He's making it impossible for young people to own a home and have a family. He's euthanizing anybody and everybody. He's giving individuals and demanding that our youth take the jab, which is causing miscarriages, forced abortions, I call them, sterilization. He's targeting our children in the schools with the trans agenda, sterilizing them, cutting out their reproductive systems. And so there is no demand for immigration other than the corrupt one that the Liberal government has manifested. He says that our economy came roaring back after the pandemic had lifted. It's like, no, it didn't. It did not come roaring back. It's never been roaring at all during his tyranny. And that is because he's destroyed our economy by sending billions of dollars out of the country and giving billions of dollars to the LGBTQ radical agenda, as well as all of this immigration, and propping up all of these terrorists who have been coming into the country as well. After 2 years, he mentioned after 2 years with closed borders, he made that comment. The borders were never closed during the pandemic. Roxham Road had a pandemic of its own, and that was because of the flood of immigrants that were coming in through that crossing. We have been, of course, paying for everybody in all of the hotels as well. So the purpose of all of this, and for him to be promoting this, I'm questioning, just to play for a moment. Let's see where I want to go with it. It was a little hard for me to find the timing in the last link. So let's just see. I'll scoot along to 6:25. Play right here. Sorry to put you through this.
Making the system work for Canadians and for newcomers, rather than for the big box stores, chain restaurants, immigration consultants, and sham colleges that exploit it.
So this is it, right? Throughout the video, he's blaming universities that got greedy, that could get tens of thousands of dollars more for students. He's then blaming these Pakistani immigration groups that are trafficking people and getting them into Canada, taking their money where there's no jobs. Absolutely not. He's lying through his teeth. This was government orchestrated 100%. Pierre Poilievre ended up calling them out in the legislature. And of course, Mark Miller makes some absolutely ridiculous comment that didn't even address the issue. They know exactly what they're doing. None of this is by mistake. It's all by design. So I'll just keep going on. And all of this back in 2018, all pre-COVID, all before most of you were even knew about Action for Canada, we were fighting for you. And we were fighting against the Global Compact on Migration. And that Global Compact on Migration had been in the works for decades. And when they put this master plan in place, it was to create all this fake climate change catastrophes and then make it an excuse that all of these people were experiencing in third world countries these catastrophes and needed to find, homes in the West, because that's only where freedom and democracy reigns, is under God's rule and God's law. And that's why I'm going to continue to encourage you to understand what biblical principles, gifted us with, because these countries where the mass migration is coming from, they are ruled by tyrants, and they want all the world not only ruled by tyrants in every single country so that they can rule us, of course, with a one world government. And they've got to destroy us. They've got to take us down in order to do that. And Trudeau is at the center. Now, I talked about the 15-minute cities earlier, but Trudeau talked about housing in there and how they're going to put a slowdown on immigration now, for 2 years so we can catch up in the housing industry. Well, look at what these dirty dogs are doing in the background. They have a blueprint for more and better housing. Well, let's take a look how federal, provincial, and municipal governments can ensure we build 5.8 million homes that are affordable, low carbon, and resilient by 2030. 5.8 million homes. They're going to fast track it. Canada needs 5.8 million new homes by 2030 to restore housing affordability. No, we don't. Ship at least the 2 million immigrants that are here on temporary visa, work visas, and students. Get them out of the country right now. That'll take care of a huge portion of it. And then start shipping out the IRGC, all of the terrorists that are here. Get rid of all the Khalistani Sikhs that are out in the street with their swords, calling for a Khalistani state. I mean, millions. That's 3-4 million right there. You know what? We won't have a housing crisis anymore if they just take very simple steps. And we can do this because you know what? If you're in violation with the your oath when you come here and you become a Canadian citizen, or you whatever ways and grounds that you're here on, if you're in violation of that and supporting terrorism, you're out. There isn't, you know what? We don't have to go through a review. We have evidence. Let's just ship them out. We can clean this up really quickly. Okay, so that's more than 1/3 of our existing housing supply all over again. While there's no question this is a generational, sorry, I can make this easier on myself, a generational change. It's like, what are they talking about? Well, there's no question this is a generational change. It's also a historic opportunity to build more and better housing for a fast-growing population of homeowners. It's not a fast-growing population of homeowners. Our population isn't growing. We don't have an opportunity to grow. This is mass immigration. So it says homeowners, renters, seniors, young families, students, and precariously housed, whatever. Seizing the opportunity will require coordinated leadership by each and every one of you. So seizing the opportunity. Let's see who's seizing this opportunity. Well, look at that. It happens to be Mark Carney. Okay, so they decided to put this committee together to oversee this massive project that's going to get these guys billions of dollars. And I don't trust the globalists. So there's 15 housing experts and practitioners came together to form this task force. If we go down to page 8, I was just skimming through it today. I didn't have time to do, the thorough research on it. But they want to legalize density. You'll hear that a lot going on in municipalities. You need to be opposing that, because what they want to do is they're going to legalize density by eliminating unit maximums on all forms of residential housing and abolishing parking minimums, etc. Create a more permissive land use, planning and approval systems, including by repealing policies we have right now on zoning or plans that prioritize the preservation of the physical character of the neighborhood. The way they spin the wording and use the English language to try to make this sound like it's in our benefit. But listen to what they're saying. By appealing policies, zoning, or plans that prioritize the preservation of the physical character of the neighborhood. All right, by messing up our neighborhoods, by putting a 20-story building in it. That's what they're talking about. Let's get rid of the priorities to preserve these neighborhoods so that we can go in and destroy these neighborhoods, because that is the plan. They want to destroy our neighborhoods with this mass implementation of all of this housing. That's all they show here in this article. It's not showing, community housing. There's no acreage in here. It's all mass housing, stacking everybody on top of each other. Every Canadian deserves an affordable place to call home. However, for many, that simply isn't a reality. A slow-growing housing shortage that simmered over decades. Now, think about that. This didn't simmer over decades. This happened in the last 9 years under Justin Trudeau's rule. And that's what I mean by him spinning everything possibly that he can do to try to trick Canadians into believing that we should be accepting this. That simmered over decades has been pushed to a boil, leaving thousands and thousands of families, workers, seniors, young people, out of the market. No, it's not. It's reckless mass immigration, from countries that do not align with Canadians' values. Slow-growing housing. Anyways, I'll leave it. This report, you can easily Google it. If you go through it, you'll just be appalled. But this is as well how our municipalities are being lobbied. And then it goes in there about financially providing the money to the cities to implement this. And of course, they want the money. So let's demand a moratorium on immigration. You guys, this is unbelievable. Can you imagine if Trudeau and the immigration minister and the attorney general had received 1 million signatures? Please email me at call2@Action for Canada and tell me why, if you're not signing this, or if you are and that number doesn't change. I need to know. This should be hundreds of thousands of signatures when I compare them to other, petitions that we've done in the past. This, millions of Canadians support stopping mass immigration and demanding a moratorium. Every time the petition is signed, it sends an email to the individuals that I have informed you of. We've got to make sure. But even 5,000 emails going into, their inboxes is letting them know that Canadians are upset. Now, this should just take a few minutes to wrap this up. I don't know if you heard, there was another assassination attack, but it was against Irwin Coulter. He was a former Liberal MP, but he is a huge advocate against anti-Semitism. And so there was a couple of Iranian jihad assassins who were going to come up with him, and he is having to live in protection here in Canada because Justin Trudeau refuses to deport all of the 700 Iranian terrorists. That's not even all of them, but that are on a list in Canada. The 2 that were going to be deported, he had said that the IRGC, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, was deemed a terrorist organization in Canada. Finally, after years of people, screaming at him that he needed to do this, he finally did it in the spring. Sorry, I'm having a little trouble with my voice tonight. And but it ends up that they were going to deport 2 of the IRGC terrorists right away, and Mark Miller put a stop to it. So we have 700. Why are we? If you have proof of these individuals being tied to extremism, it's an instant deport. We don't need to prove their innocence or their guilt. If you have compelling evidence, they do not belong in Canada and they need to be deported. What's happening this week, it's not just the IRGC, it's not just the Muslims, it's the Sikhs as well. So there was thousands of people that had attended this rally in Surrey, British Columbia. And I won't play it right now, but the individual on the camera, and I have his faces listed on my Twitter account, and his name is yelling that now the Canada belongs to the Sikhs. Remember that I said there's no way India is going to give the Khalistanis a referendum and give them land. It's just not going to happen because the Khalistani Sikhs are like the Palestinians are in Israel. They're invaders in any country that they go. They make demands, they cause destruction, and the Khalistani Sikhs are now marching across our streets freely. They're not having success in India. So I said it isn't long until they start demanding that Canada is theirs. And now this guy literally had proclaimed that this is now a Khalistani nation and the whites and the Israelis need to go back to Europe and wherever they came from. That's literally what the guy says. So he's been reported to the police. The two Surrey police last week who were doing sword fights in full uniform have been reported to the RCMP. There's a case on my Twitter page. I've said, here's all the information. Continue with the backlash. Those two police officers need to be fired. They did a very political stand with that to us represents terrorism. When we see all of the Sikhs, Khalistanis doing sword fights and bringing their swords out into the streets across Canada, there's no way that they should be permitted to be police officers. And this individual needs to be investigated. If he is an import, he needs to be deported. Simple as that. These are the Khalistani Sikhs that were out. They were riding horseback. They've got their swords. They're coming to the streets. I've repeatedly, have shown you that this is happening. And what are you doing? Look at this in Canada. How do you feel? Are you wanting to carry a gun pretty soon? That we should have a Second Amendment? We do have a Second Amendment in Canada. I'm going to be giving further information on that to empower you, but this has got to stop. This is not Canadian culture. This is a foreign culture, and we have given over too much land to them. And we need to say no more. Here are the Muslims calling for jihad is our path in Canada, calling for jihad against Canadians. Allah is the greatest is what they're saying. No, he's not. God Almighty, God of the Bible is Almighty and he is greatest. And that's what Canada is founded on. And these people need to be deported. If you don't like this, you need to make an election issue. And that all of these radical activists that are at all levels of government need to be removed, and we need to pass legislation to put that in place. Here is just a delightful individual. He's a human smuggler, and his passport was taken away from him, and then the federal government issued a new passport to him and admitted this former human smuggler, and he continued to reside in Canada. And they actually permitted him, when he had first been arrested in 2021, as part of his release conditions related to human smuggling. So I think he had to wear an ankle bracelet. Why would you release somebody like this? Why was he permitted back? This is all being done under Justin Trudeau. He can't sit there in a fake video that he's created. We need as much massive backlash against that YouTube video as possible to say, we're not buying what you're selling, Trudeau. Migrants receive gold-plated benefits. Ottawa pivots, meanwhile, on immigration. But as you know, they're getting paid $224 a day, $81,760 per year, while Canadian citizens and taxpayers can't make ends meet. If you don't like it, you need to start showing up at elections. Now this individual, this group, now the Blacks are coming out. They have a public servants took the government to court. Don't know if you're aware of this or not. Filed in 2020, the class action lawsuit is seeking $2.5 billion in damages because of lost salaries and promotions, says the Black Class Action Secretariat, a group the lawsuit's lead plaintiffs created. I am so sick of these individuals all calling about racism and all this race baiting and talking about the color of anybody's skin. You know what? I know lots of people that have not been treated well in their workplace and lost, being advanced in their positions. This is not only Black people that have experienced this. I worked for a company, it was called Granada TV, one of my first jobs back then. I was one of only 3 women hired, and I had top sales, but all of a sudden they said they wanted to go back to all men again. You should know what they put me through in order to do that. It was absolutely criminal, and I had to take action against them. Don't tell me it's just Black people that, are suffering, experiencing. If they want to go back to an African country or somewhere else, I mean, do a comparison. Canada treats people very well. And the thing is, that's because our God, the one and only God of creation and the God of the Bible, doesn't care about the color of our skin, and Christians don't care about the color of your skin. We care about the condition of your heart and mind, and we treat you as such. In fact, it was Wilberforce who was the one that abolished slavery and was the biggest advocate for Black people. I hate even saying Black people because I don't look at the color of people's skin. And if we're not all going to get involved in this, if we're not going to stop allowing people in this day and age to prioritize victimizing minority groups, we're never going to get out from under this. All this money is coming from hardworking, tax-paying Canadians who have never, ever been racist or done a bad thing to any of these people. This is exploitation of taxpayers, and it needs to come to an end. We need to stop all funding to the Indigenous people, all funding to these NGOs, all funding to these minority groups, and go back to the Constitution says where we're all equal under the law. I'm ready for that. Everybody is. It's long past due. Just a few headlines. Regina, first Canadian city to host Palestine flag raising ceremony. I know I wrote to the mayor. I know other people did, and I understood that ended up getting stopped. I think they were going to do a private event, and it shouldn't be allowed. There should be none of this. All the Palestinians need to be shut down in Canada. A ceremony honoring October 7th mastermind to take place in Canada. There was a big event and just, desecrated the poppy in order to make the posters. It is absolutely horrible. This again, all throughout the country. North Vancouver RCMP need help finding serial sex attacker. We know what community that individual is from. Then global news, like I'm talking global national, like around the world news, are the Jews, the canary, and the coal mine. It's only a matter of time until Christians become the target of the global intifada. And we're experiencing that 100% in Canada and throughout every single Western nation. I've had Majed El-Shefi on, Alex Newman, all kinds of special speakers to talk about this issue. I don't want to say ad nauseum. It's because we need to be educated. So another report, anti-Christian hate crimes in Europe tripled in 2023, and it is completely in response to, as a result of the Muslims coming into our countries, and this is where the crime is happening. And I'm just going to play this in closing. Actually, you know what I want to do before I put that in closing is I just want to go over our political radical Islam page, which is under the current issues. And I've mentioned many times that I wrote this report back in 2018 and launched it in 2019. And I had appealed to my MP, who happened to be Liberal, Ken Hardy, and I sent him all these headlines and reports of Muslims committing all of these horrific crimes in Canada. Remember, like I said, that was back when motion M103 was being tabled and voted on. And he came back and said, anybody can cherry pick, Tanya, like a headline to show what the news reports are. And I'm like, okay, Mr. Hardy, he won't even reply to me as not mine, I didn't vote for him, but as an elected representative, he will not even respond to me with all of the news reports. We've had somebody slice somebody's throat yelling Allah Akbar on a bus nearby here a year ago. And we see all the headlines. My headlines reports would be hours long, every weekly news update. There's so many of them nationwide. Crimes being committed by these foreigners that they have purposely imported criminals into Canada to terrorize us in order to destroy us and destabilize Canada. And I'm constantly sending Mr. Hardy emails saying you are responsible for this and justice is coming, sir. You're not going to be immune from this at some point. And in the end, the Lord will be the final say in it. So on that, read this page. Again, knowledge is power. When you have it, you got to share it. You got to use it and you got to share it. So let's just hear what a real leader sounds like. And I'm praying for, this is one that won the majority, Geert Wilders in the Netherlands, and things are turning around there.
Islam, my friends, is indeed evil. Look at its so-called prophet Muhammad. He slaughtered Jewish tribes, he raped a young girl, he gave sex slaves as a gift to his henchmen, and he is still today an example for more than 1 billion Muslims worldwide. No wonder that some of his followers take to terrorism. Islam preaches hatred, propagates violence, and is barbaric and violent by nature. It wants all Muslims to submit. It is incompatible with freedom as we know it. And nothing will ever change that. That's why we should de-Islamize our societies in order to stay free nations. No appeasement, no concessions, but vigilance, perseverance and strength against barbarism is the one thing we should do, and I hope with your support.
Isn't that amazing? That's what a true leader sounds like. Islam and the West have throughout history never been able to coexist together because Islam is not a religion. It is a political system that subjugates any and all areas of your life and dictates. It is a political system being masked as a religion in order to infiltrate Western nations and use our Constitution and our laws in order to advance their agenda, which is to have global dominance. The only way to stop this is to shut down all manifestations of Islam in Canada. That's every mosque, every Islamic center, and every Islamic school. We have enough evidence. The majority, if not all of them, are under surveillance by the RCMP, and we as Canadians are the ones that are paying for this. So we're on the front line of this battle. I continue to ask you in final closing here, please support Action for Canada and the work that we're boldly doing on behalf of Canadians. We believe that we can have the same wins that are being experienced in Europe and the UK and now in the United States as well, but we can't do that without your help. So thank you in advance for that. All right, as I'd mentioned earlier on, Michelle Sterling will be our guest next week. And we call the Native Saga continues with this movie that was called Sugarcane, and as Michelle called it, the bitter roots of sugarcane. She's done a video. I will include it in the weekly email that I'll be sending out on Wednesday night. If you haven't joined Action for Canada, please make sure you do to receive our weekly news updates on Sunday nights and any actions that we take nationwide. And a lot of times we didn't in this instance when we did the action on behalf of Nova Scotians, but maybe we should have. We send them usually out nationwide because there's people that may know somebody in Nova Scotia that could take that action. So forgive us if you feel like there's too many emails. We try to limit them, but if it's an action you don't want to participate in, just delete it. If it's something that you could forward on, it's important to us that you do that. And I know down in the States, Bridget Gabriel, like Action for Canada, is doing the same thing in lobbying government and pushing back against senators. And that is where public awareness is gained. And that is where elected officials hear the voice of the people. They understand in order to get voted that they need to go with the majority. And that's why they're winning in these nations. And we want Canada to be next. Okay, Matthew 6:19-21. Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth where moth and rust destroy and where thieves break in and steal. But store up for yourselves treasures in heaven where moth and rust do not destroy and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. And I love that verse on the Empower Hour tonight. We were talking about our investments and our money, and I just thought that verse was very appropriate. All right, well, so thank you. I again ask you to give us a thumbs up, join the Rumble page, join Action for Canada's Rumble, and as well forward this, share this weekly news update with others. We appreciate it so much. All right, thank you. God bless you, and God bless Canada.
Do you want to look great and protect your rights? Join Action for Canada with our stylish protective gear. Our slim fit women's t-shirts are like a second skin. giving you the power to tackle any challenge. Made from a super soft blend of 90% cotton and 10% polyester, it's perfect for your everyday heroes that want to tell the world that they have had enough. Our men's t-shirts are like your everyday armor. Same quality, same comfort, and designed to keep your heroic look intact. And if you need extra protection, our mid-weight hoodies are here to save the day. With a pre-shrunk blend of 60% cotton and 40% polyester, these hoodies are your trusty sidekick against the cold. Plus, the pouch pocket is perfect for storing snacks because every hero needs their fuel. Deflect negativity with our 11-ounce ceramic mugs. They're dishwasher and microwave safe and perfect for holding your favorite beverage or your morning dose of justice. Our 100% cotton canvas shopping totes with double carry handles and prints on both sides. These totes can carry your groceries and your mission to save the planet. Stay warm and stylish with our form-fitting toques. Perfect for winter adventures. Made from acrylic and polyester, they fit most sizes with an adjustable cuff, keeping your brain warm for all those brilliant ideas. And don't forget our 6-panel structured caps, designed to protect your head from too many UV rays or bad hair days. Every purchase helps support our movement to protect Canadian rights. Visit Action for Canada now and gear up for the fight so together we can protect what matters most and help make a difference.